Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is what I'd like to say an exciting day because we're going to take a quick walk through the service level agreement or the maintenance agreement as everybody knows it. The term service level agreement is a bit of a foreign word for most guys. I mean, why would you call it a service level agreement when you can call it a maintenance agreement? Let me just adjust my camera angle. I think that's going to be a better view than the previous one. It has taken us years to complete this document, so we are excited to be able to have an opportunity to showcase the document. Apart from that, we have one or two other things that Marisha is going to be sharing with us. And Marisha, it doesn't look like we have Anne in the meeting. Are you going to be sharing statistics, news, and updates?
Anne is here, but yes, I'll share those details.
Okay, that's great. I think we can start, and we can officially start the meeting, and you're welcome to run through the stats.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marisha. I am part of the AREP team and proud to be so. So we like to give you guys an update of what's going on in your association because effectively without you, we cannot and do not want to exist. So as a member base, we are at 5,173 members, which is amazing. So there's over 5,000 professionals across the industry that's committed to becoming a member of AREP. And along with that, hopefully you know this, but along with becoming a member, you signed a code of conduct with specific standards that we try to reach as an industry. So we're very grateful that you have all committed to such a level of excellence in your professions. And then we like to give you an update on the company and founding members of the organization. So naturally, any organization needs some form of income, a sustainable way to stay alive, which is part of the reason we are here today to discuss the service level agreements for maintenance work, which is another revenue stream for a lot of solar PV businesses. In the same way, AREP as an association needs revenue to keep doing what it does, to roll out all of the programs and projects. And one of the ways that we do that is through our company and founding memberships. So the company members, we have 137 of them. They have committed to becoming a company member of the association. For that membership, they get a specific set of benefits, including exposure on our website and a few others. If you are interested in becoming a company or a founding member, please reach out to Anne. She's going to pop her email address into the chat box. And if you want to get some additional exposure for your company, you are welcome to talk to us and we can set up a subscription for you. That is a paid subscription that obviously helps the association to survive, and it also benefits you as an organization because now not only you as an individual are listed with a certificate saying that you have committed to the standards of the association, but your business now gets a certificate to say that you have committed to this code of conduct and that you are in some way or form under, you fall under a group that is trying to uplift the industry. And that's always a very wonderful way to give some peace of mind to your clients. So adding that certificate saying that you have committed to an association to your quotations when you work for clients is always a very good thing. It just gives a little bit of peace of mind to your clients. And then for the P4 Quality Assurance Program, which is a solar PV quality assurance program, if you haven't heard of it, the P4, if you have completed P4 level 1 and level 2, you get a P4 registered practitioner's green card that says that you are accredited according to industry standards to work on solar PV systems. That green card is usually your ticket for financing and insurance and big projects. Most of the big banks requires a form of accreditation, and there are only two forms available in South Africa. The first is the Sapphire Green Card. The Sapphire is PV Green Card, sorry. And then the second is the AREP P4 accreditation that that we have. So we have a few levels. We have the level 1, the level 2, those are theoretical examinations. And then we also have the level 3 program, which has an element of practical assessment. We send out another P4 level 3 accredited practitioner to one of your sites, who then assesses your site based on the AREP hybrid test report and sends us that report back. And if you pass the report with 100%, you get P4 level 3 accredited. And that also means that we can now send you to other people's sites. We also pay a small amount for you to go and do that assessment. So obviously the P4 level 3 is a way to earn a small additional income, but it is also a way to network with peers, to learn more in your own field. And it is also a way to make a very good and lasting impact in the industry, because you're actively involved, checking how other people are doing it, asking questions about why they chose to this, they chose to split the cables here and do that and do this. So if you are interested in the P4 accreditation program, you can also reach out to Anne. She manages that program for us. If you would like to stay in touch with the association, there are a few ways to do that. There's a QR code on the screen right now. We have a dedicated WhatsApp group only for members of the association. We're not very active on the group. We only share important notifications. So this morning, for instance, we shared a link to be able to access this meeting quite easily. Other than that, we don't really send a lot of information on it. We try to respect everyone's time and their attention bandwidths. I know we have, all of us, a lot of messages screaming at us most of the day, and AREP doesn't want to be one of those annoying voices. We just want to contribute where we can to your professional space as a solar PV professional. You can also, if you would like, follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook, and then we also have a YouTube channel. So all of the meetings that we host on a public forum, say for instance the members meetings or other industry related events, we post on the YouTube channel. You will always be able to access a recording over there. If you want a recording that you can't find online, please feel free to reach out to me and I can help you find it. Okay. Now, I just want to give you a few updates on what the association has been working on. Maybe you've missed it, maybe you haven't. We've mentioned some of these in the meetings before, but I'm just going to quickly update you again. So we have a municipal SSEG database. So AREP has spent a lot of time collecting the contact details of the person that is responsible for SSEG in every single municipality in South Africa. So all kudos goes to Jocelyn there. She spent hours and hours on the telephone trying to reach everyone in every single municipality across our country. And then she made a database giving us either the direct SSEG responsible person in the municipality's email address and phone number, or she would have listed, if that person is not available or does not exist yet, she would have listed the municipal manager. So you can contact either of those people per municipality to get in touch with the person that is responsible for SSEG in your region. So not every municipality already has SSEG systems or departments in place. And also important to note that not every municipality's bylaws are the same in terms of SSEG. So it would always be a good idea, if you have questions in terms of regulations and registrations, to talk to your specific municipality or where your site is, that site-specific municipality, to get some clarity. The link is on the screen, which you can't access, but I am going to send it to you in the chat box just now. I'll send that link on the chat box to access that database. Oh, and can I just also ask, when you do use the database and you come across a municipality whose number has changed or the person responsible has changed, please go ahead and leave a comment on the document. Make it an interactive thing where you kind of help industry to stay up to date and get the right contact people in place. So leave a comment with their details, and then we will add it to the list as we see the comments coming in. Another piece of update, we have been working on the fire prevention and suppression guidelines for a while now. If you don't know what this is, in South Africa, there is no standard practice for fire prevention and suppression in the solar PV industry. So there's no formal or even informal way to check whether you are meeting basic safety standards, because there's no form of guideline yet. what the association has been doing for the past few months is to talk to loads of experts to try and consolidate something that we can give industry to use to take into consideration when they are designing their solar PV systems. That document is getting closer to a first draft that we can share publicly for comment, and then we will make that link available as soon as it is. If you have in the meantime any comments or suggestions, you are welcome to contact me with that. And then another thing that AREP is working on, we as an association have access to quite a lot of unique industry data. Like I mentioned earlier, we have over 5,000 members. So that comes with a significant amount of data. And we have decided to start analyzing that quite in depth. And we're going to publish a 2024 and 2025 industry report for the solar PV industry specifically. That is coming Q4, so sometime next term that report will be available. We are going to charge for that report. It's not going to be available for free because it is taking significant resources to produce. But that is something you can keep an eye out for, and I'm sure the industry would appreciate it because there is scarily little of information available for guys to do planning around. We're excited about that one. And then we have, on the WhatsApp group, we have posted a poll where you can do pre-orders for your test booklets. So if you want a printed booklet for any of these 4 test reports, you can let us know. And as soon as we have the minimum quantities that we need to put in a printing order, we will do that and we will send you your booklet. Yeah, we can't at the moment do the printing without having confirmation that you will take the order. So we're just waiting for everyone to confirm, and then once that is done, we will do the printing and courier you your booklet. So we have 4 options. You can do just the COC with duplicate pages, so you have a copy for yourself. You can do the COC without a duplicate page if you are someone that likes to take photos and store your copies digitally. Then you just use your single page and you give it to your client. Then we have the SANS 10142 test reports and the hybrid test reports that was created by AREP is also available, all of them in printed format. You can contact Anne to order directly, or you can join the WhatsApp group and just give your poll answer on the group. And then Jocelyn is probably, I think Jocelyn is the one that's going to phone you and just confirm your order. Okay, finally, that is all of the updates from my side. Just a reminder that we do the Q&A for the meeting at the end of the meeting. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and pop them into the chat box. We're not going to do raised hands or anything like that. We just post the questions into the chat box. And then at the end of the meeting, Carel is going to go through each question chronologically, and hopefully we'll get to all of the questions. All right. Thank you, Carel.
Okay, great. Good morning, guys. Sorry, there was something I thought of while Marisha was presenting on industry stats. So just on battery brands, for example, I didn't quite know there were so many, but at the moment we've got a list of about 104 different battery brands. Some of them are older brands, some of them are still existing brands, but we've got a range of battery brands, and most of the batteries, wait, let me rephrase. All of the batteries that we've got under the brands of batteries that are listed there have been installed in the South African environment in one way or the other. So 104 different battery brands, guys. That is crazy. Okay, I need to share my screen. So I want to start off in the document itself. So guys, this document is available to be downloaded at no charge. So you can download the document. There's no charge to it, but what I see is that you are going to have to log in. So if you are interested in having access to the document and you can't get it from contact in the industry, you might have to register as a member. It'll be worth registering as a member just to get the document. There's a lot of valuable information in this document. Okay, let's kickstart the process. The document is available in Word format for the specific purpose that you amend it how you need it. The document starts off saying that this is a template provided for information purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Guys, it's supposed to be a guideline to show you what you could take into consideration or what you should consider if you are going to be doing maintenance on solar PV plants. There are according to the index, 16 pages, which is quite significant. So there's a lot of detail in it, but a lot of the details you would be able to delete because you're not going to use all of it. Word, unfortunately, does not update the index automatically. You have to click on it and you've got to select update. There we go. You've got to select update table and then you select update entire table. So if there are sections that you are going to be deleting, remember to come back to the index, update the table so that it won't show the items that you've deleted. Project information, this might be a little bit obvious. So in your project information, you're going to say who the employer is, or where your site is, who the contractor is. So if you're a consultant, you'd be able to provide the contractor that's going to be doing the maintenance work. You'd be able to provide this here. If you want to have your name as a consultant in here as well, then guys, copy and paste. Simply copy this section, paste it, and add and amend information. System type, we've got some tick boxes here. These tick boxes aren't active tick boxes. So you would be able to, I think the idea behind this is that you would be able to print this document and you'd be able to take it to site and you'd be able to complete it there. We can work on a fillable PDF where we would be able to add tick boxes, but the issue with that would be that you won't be able to amend the document. It won't be as intuitive. So system type, you can choose your type, starting date, when are you supposed to start your, when is this contract supposed to start? Then renewal, it automatically renews for 1 year, 5 years, unless either party gives 30 days notice. I think it's fairly obvious. If there are sections you don't like, change the wording, guys. Scope of services. Contractor shall perform operation and maintenance services for the facility with the intention of maintaining safe operation, maximizing availability and yield, and extending asset life where possible. This, if I have to be honest, could be exposing you to risk, because this section over here says the contractor shall perform maintenance. If you don't like the word shall, you can change that to offers to perform operations and maintenance services for the facility with the intention of maintaining safe operation. You can, so this for me is critical, safe operation. You can, if you want to take the word safe out, than just maintaining operation. If you want to take the word maximizing out, guys, these are words that I think could potentially expose you to a customer coming back to you after a couple of years and saying, listen, if something happens, for example, the word safe, if someone gets injured on the site, the word safe could be a risk. If you have an installation and it's not maximizing the availability and yield, it opens you up to risk. And extending asset life, that word there could expose you to risk. So what you could find different words to put in there: the intention of maintaining operation, availability and yield, and maintain asset life where possible. So if you change the wording in that context, it's not going to expose you to that type of risk, because you might have a situation where something happens on site, something happens to maybe the guy who designed the system didn't design it in such a way that it can maximize availability and yield. And now you enter into this contract and you're exposing yourself to that kind of risk. Yes, we created the document, and yes, I added the word safe operation and maximizing and extending in there. If you don't like it, take it out. Moving on. Services to be included. We've got different types of maintenance. So we've got operational maintenance, that's just day-to-day stuff. We've got preventative maintenance. That's where you kind of identify stuff before it happens. And then you've got corrective maintenance. Corrective maintenance is after something is broken, you can note it over here, and it can be put on a roster to schedule for a replacement or repair work. So let's just take a look at operational maintenance. When we look at operational maintenance, it's just cleaning. Cleaning of modules, generally done with water and a soft broom. You do get cleaning agents that you can buy, and it's a type of soap. I wouldn't necessarily use soaps. There are areas where you are going to be forced to use soap because the air might contain salts. Like close to the sea, you would want to try the salt creates a kind of a residue on the panels. You might want to be able to just get that off. Make sure you get the right stuff to clean it with. Vegetation management, where you have a ground mount system, for example, and you have bushes growing in, around, or under the solar panels. Housekeeping, same thing. Make sure everything is clean. Visual checks, just walking around the system and making sure that everything looks okay. So up to here, this is fairly open to guys that do not necessarily have to be trained, have to be, what's the word? You don't have to invest a lot of money in training guys in doing this right. You've got to train the guys to use the right type of agent or water or liquid to clean the panels. You've got to train them not to walk on the solar panels. You've got to train them to have a look at vegetation and shading around modules. And you've got to be able to show them what they need to look at when they walk around the installation from a visual checks point of view. So operational maintenance, pretty straightforward. Preventative maintenance, yeah, we start looking at having to use guys that are slightly more qualified. So over here we have OEM aligned inspections and servicing. So Guys, OEM would be original equipment manufacturers. Okay, that has been... OEM is original equipment manufacturers. If you are not going to download the brand that you are maintaining, if you're not going to be downloading the installation and maintenance document for the brand you're maintaining, take the OEM, take the word OEM out of this document, because it could expose you to risk. You might be doing something in a specific way. So maybe you are doing inspection on the inverters, and the inverter manual says you have to clear the dust filter. And for some reason or the other, you haven't read it, and the inverter overheats, and the client sues you for being negligent. If you are going to have dust filters and that kind of thing, you'd be able to specify it. If I remember correctly, there is a place further in the document where you would be able to specify it. Over here, you are going to tick what it is you are going to be maintaining. Corrective maintenance, in case there's something else that happens. So in this section of the document, we are really covering the scope of the services. In other words, what is expected of you and what are you going to be taking a look at. When we look at predictive maintenance, we now start looking at having specialized equipment where we look at IV curve tracking, where we trend power quality. In other words, now we start looking at how the system is operating from a performance point of view. Can you see anything that is potentially causing issues in how the system is operating? If you are not going to be looking at the vibration monitoring for rotating equipment, then take that out, guys. Take that out. Monitoring and reporting. What are you going to be doing for the customer with regards to monitoring and reporting? Do you have remote monitoring installed? Are you going to, often with your online portals, it will tell you when there's been some sort of event. So you would be able to list the events and determine how quick you're going to be responding to those events. Monthly performance reporting, annual system performance reporting. Are you going to be using that? If you don't use it, take it out. So if you're not going to be using it, just take it out. OEM and warranty liaison. So RMA coordination. Guys, RMA is when you've got equipment that has failed. Are you going to be the guy responsible for handling the logistics and making arrangements with the manufacturer or distributor to have the broken equipment returned? Are you going to be expected to handle the documentation? Are you going to be expected to handle the transportation and removal of the equipment? These things are important to list because your client might have different expectations with regards to what it is you are supposed to be doing and what they expect you. In other words, what the expectation is from the client's point of view. So the following is excluded from the service level agreement. This is important. Capital replacements and upgrades. Customers might think that for 5,000 Rand a month, maybe it's a massive site, and you charge them 5,000 Rand a month for maintenance. So just as a matter of interest, maintenance costs between 1 and about 2% of the project value per annum. So don't look at the project value. Take 1% of that. So you look at a house, the guy has paid 200,000 Rand for his installation. So 1 to 2% is 2,000 Rand. Guys, you can't, on a commercial site, you would be able to look at the 1 to 2% for maintenance. If it's a house, don't use the 1 to 2% value. Have a look at what your costs are for driving out to site. Have a look at what you are planning on spending on site in terms of timing. And then you make provision for the costing in that way. Insurance excesses. I've just dumped a lot of things into this document because it has to make you think, and you've got to consider different options. Grid works, third-party damages, force majeure. So if something happens, like there's a storm, for example, how does that affect your agreement with the customer? Over here, it says that if there's a massive storm and the system is damaged, then this part is excluded. PV and non-PV load defects. Years and years ago, when I was more of a contractor, I used to go out to sites to fix something. So you'd go to the site and you'd fix maybe there's something wrong with the geyser. And when you leave, the customer phones you and says, listen, you were just here this morning and now my oven doesn't work. What did you do? So this is to say that you are there for the maintenance, and if there's something that happens to the load, it's not your responsibility. Structural repairs kind of takes structural repairs out of your scope. Water provision for cleaning, unless otherwise stated. So are you going to be providing the water, or do they have tap points on the roof? Do they have water points on the roof? Site user or employer obligations. Provide safe access. Yeah, guys, this is very important. Do they have anchor points on the roof where you can hook your working at heights gear to, where your guys can safeguard themselves? Maintain employer side equipment not listed in this service level agreements. What do we have there? Cat ladders. So the way you get onto the roof, are you expected to maintain that? This is the site or the employer's obligations. In other words, they need to have safe access. They need to have a cat ladder, or if you use a cherry picker to get onto the roof, they have to make sure that it's safe. Refrain from unauthorized changes to the facility. Provide water. Notify the contractor of alarms. This is important, because you might have the owner phoning you and saying, but you never noticed the alarm. Guys, it happens. For some reason or the other, the internet is off and you don't get a notification that the system has just crashed. Then contractor obligations. Deliver services with due care, comply with a safety legislation, provide competent personnel, maintain training records. This document, if I remember correctly, has space for you to fill in or complete. So it should have a template, if I remember correctly, towards the end that you can use as a document that you can complete. Notify someone at least this far in advance before planned maintenance visits. This is going to be determined by and vary from site to site. Maintain service records. What we've done in a lot of the installations we've been involved with lately is we've provided customers with this sheet, and then their own personnel can update the records as and when they do maintenance on the site. Response and restoration targets. So here's your priority matrix. Whether you use this or not is dependent on how your relationship is with a client and what you're going to be charging them. So what we have over here is the priority. Priority 1 is critical, priority 2 is major. If you want to add more priorities, guys, just copy and paste. So what we have here is a critical response. So something happens on site, the complete solar plant crashes. So over here, you agree that you will respond if the complete site crashes within, I don't know, 24 hours. Don't be, if it's a plant where they rely only on this as a source of power, only on a solar system as a source of power, it might be 2 hours. Then take the minutes out. On-site response, how long will it take you to get there? How long will it take you to restore this? If you don't know how long it will take you to restore the target, then take the term restore target and resolve target out of the matrix. So in other words, it's going to take me 2 hours to respond electronically, and we'll be on site the next day. How long it's going to take us to restore and resolve, we don't know. It depends on what's wrong. Solar PV system availability target. If you have something like that, this could add another layer of risk on you as an organization, because over here you kind of tie yourself to the performance of the solar plant, and you kind of tie yourself to downtime and that kind of thing. So this area over here, I would say this entire section, high risk. That would be determined by what your relationship is to the site and how you view it. There might be guys who finance the site and they want the site's uptime. They want the performance ratio of the plant to be up 95% of the year. This performance ratio target is going to have a massive impact on how you respond to certain things. If you aren't geared for super fast response and you don't have to commit to that, then it's going to be better not to commit to it. Maintenance tasks and frequencies. Over here, you can say, how regularly do you think you're going to be doing the inspection? How often are you going to be washing? How often are you going to be doing infrared photography? IV curve tracking. Not everybody has an IV curve tracker or an IV curve tester. So if you don't have an IV curve tester, don't even put this in. Don't do what I'm doing now and just put a line through it, because the customer is still going to be able to read this, and then they're going to ask uncomfortable questions. And maybe they're going to say, listen, actually, I want to have you to test my IV curve on my strings. And then you have to go out and buy a tester. So rather just remove the stuff you don't want to include as part of the service agreements. Torque verification of fixings. Over here, again, you're going to have to read the installation instructions of the mounting structure in order to understand how tight the bolts have to be. You don't have to torque every single bolt. Do random sampling. You can have a drawing of your site and show where you did the sampling as part of your reporting structure. Cleaning, how many times a year? Over here we have inverters, combiner boxes, distribution and protection. In other words, what are we going to be doing and how often are we going to do this? We're going to do visual checks at the inverters annually. Infrared scans annually. Protective devices, RCDs, and that kind of thing, that's fine for annually. Firmware configuration, backups maintained. Yeah, you can decide whether you want to keep that or whether you just want to take it out. Okay, what else? Structures, cabling, and earthing. Corrosion, deformation, fasteners, roof penetrations, annually. Cableways intact, probably annually. Earthing, annually. Surge protection, annually. Depending on whether you're maybe you're in an area where there's a lot of lightning strikes. And maybe your agreement with the customer is that you'll be there more regularly. So we change that to quarterly. Guys, just apply what you have on site. Monitoring meters and weather station. Again, the same thing. I think I've explained the process there, so I'm going to move on. Vegetation, housekeeping, and access. How we've moved past the scope section. Over here is what is the intervals going to be. Then you've got your reporting. How are you going to be reporting? Is it manual or is it monthly? I read the M and the annual, and then I made it manual. There you go. Is it a monthly report? And then over here we added something just as a, I don't know, a way that you can market your maintenance agreements. So you can go to your customer and you can say, listen, we've got a gold, a silver, and a bronze maintenance agreement. Gold is 4 times a year. Silver is twice a year, and bronze is once a year. So you create different packages for different scenarios where you determine what the outputs are. Then we've got annual review report and ad hoc notifications. This for me would be something I would take out, because the ad hoc notifications is a notification that only happens when you have events. So the inverter shuts down, maybe because the battery is drained, for some or other reason. Someone left the air conditioners on. So the battery drained. Is it necessary to even have an ad hoc notification? I don't know. I wouldn't report on that. You could include it in an email or something, but do you want to include it in the key performance indicators? Yeah, probably not. Notification with OEMs and warranty handling. A bit more detail on how you are going to be handling the admin. Risk insurance and indemnities. You guys have got to make sure that you are properly insured if you are going to be doing this. Over here, we've got risk insurance and indemnities. And then at the bottom, we've got force majeure events. But in the beginning of the document, the force majeure events were excluded. So you guys are going to have to read the document because that would have to be removed. Compliance and standards. Guys, again, if you don't know what these standards are, then take out and what is applicable for what you are doing. What we don't have here, there we have 10142. That would be 10142 part 1. And then we have a lot of IEC standards. There are IEC standards here, and over here there's an IEEE. I see the NRS is over here. And then there's the Occupational Health and Safety Act. If you don't want to specify the standards and the regulations, then take it out and just say work shall comply with applicable laws and standards. So you can take that stuff, you can take it out. All test certificates and COC updates shall be filed with the site document register. That's if you have something like that. If you don't have a site document register, then you just say, shall be filed and circulated to John. And not that anybody knows who John is. John is just a random person I just kind of came up with. If it's not John, it's someone else. But look at it and decide how you're going to deal with this. Intellectual property, is there any intellectual property? Monitoring portals. Do you have stuff that you're doing at this client's premises that you consider to be intellectual property? Intellectual property is knowledge and information you own. Maybe you have a specific way in which you clean solar panels. You have a specific solution. You've made something up. You've created something, and that is your intellectual property. Then you note it over here. Credentials and passwords shall be handed over on termination. Geez, guys, I think this is pretty comprehensive. Term and termination. So when do we end this agreement? Dispute resolution and governing law. I would, good faith senior level negotiation, I would delete that and probably just go with arbitration. So you want to, so arbitration would bind the customer to in a way prevent them from appointing a lawyer to take you to court. And you can, if you go through an arbitration process, if there's something you argue with a client, arbitration processes are cheaper. So make sure you've got that in place. Then we've got the signatures and we've got the different packages at the bottom. Guys, make up your own stuff. Use this as a template. If you don't want to call it bronze, silver, and gold, call it something else. Package 1, 2, and 3. Pretty straightforward. We've got the priority matrix. Again, this is a whole lot of additional and possibly unnecessary information, which could make it look impressive if you wanted to impress the client with something. Client notice of activities. So yeah, you can just let them know when you are coming through and what you need to do. Guys, if you are working at a small business or small factory, you're not going to be using this. If you work with large corporate customers, you are going to be using this. So again, it's been written for a very broad audience. Definitions, make up your own definitions. I'm saying make up your own definitions. We've got definitions in here. If you want to change the definition for this agreement, then you change it here. So we've got business day in here as an example, but it's not defined. So you can create your own definition. You can say business day, Monday to Friday. Maybe the customer has a 7-day work week. So maybe for them, a business day includes Monday to Saturday or Monday to Sunday. Maybe it's a 7-day work week. I don't know. Add your call out rates in there. standard hours, after hours, and your travel in rate per kilometer. This is just a document that is supposed to define what the agreement is and how you deal with it. What do you consider to be preventative and predictive maintenance, for example? And then right at the bottom over here, the previous version had renewal mentioned twice on the first page. So I created a new version. My version is called version 2. The version that is on the website at the moment is version 1. Version 1 just has renewal mentioned twice on page 3. Do yourself a favor, delete that section. Have a look at the renewal section and just delete the section on your own document. And that brings us to the end of the service level agreement walkthrough. I want to have a look at the questions quickly. Let's just see, what do we have?
Carl, there aren't really any questions, except Tian asked, is there a list or a database of those battery brands available somewhere?
Tian, this wouldn't be the Tian from Rubicon, would it?
No, it's not Tian. I don't think so. No.
Okay. So yeah, guys, I'm busy creating a platform along with the report that we're busy doing. I'm busy creating a platform where you've got a searchable database. At the moment, I do have a list that I could maybe provide in an Excel spreadsheet. There is a link on my website where I've got them listed, but the intention is not really for it to be public. If there are one or two of you that are interested in having the list, you're welcome to send me a WhatsApp, and I'll drop the list. If there's a lot of value in the list, unless you want to see whether your battery brand is featured in the list. So maybe there is value in dropping the list somewhere so that you guys can have a look and see whether you can find a brand that is not in the list. So I think, are we going to drop it in the AREP members group? What do we do with the list?
Yeah, that's a good plan.
I'll drop the batteries in the list there, in the WhatsApp group there, and then you guys are welcome to contact me directly if you want to add information or have changes made, or you can let Maria know. That'd be cool. If you are a distributor for a specific brand, you can let us know, and I'll add that information in there as well. Guys, if there aren't any questions on the service level agreement, then, Tian Kuipers. Okay, no, it is the other one. Hi, Tian. That's fine. Tian then says, would be interesting in terms of knowing what is available. I use the list of approved inverters from City of Cape Town a lot. Yeah, so we also took the list of the City of Cape Town. Wow, do you know there are 2,000 rows of inverters that have been approved under the City of Cape Town's list of approved inverters? I think it's 2,000. It's a lot. I think, yeah, so what we've done is we've added it to a document where you can select your inverter. You can search an inverter and it'll show you whether it's whether it's NRS approved or not. So we are building a bit of a database there. But that would be interesting. What else do we have? Please forward the database link. Nico says, I have a question. If I want to train unemployed or any interested person in solar training, prepare them for P1 in a classroom, how do I do this? Wow. Okay, so Nico, yeah, I have this question regularly where guys want to know, how do we have people trained? Your way that you have people trained is by so you want to have an output over there, and you so if you are going to have people trained, you've got to decide what you want the output to be. And then based on what your output is going to be, that's going to determine what you do over here. So you start by looking at your end goal, and that's going to determine how you have the guy trained. Now, if you have a guy trained for the P4 and he writes the level 1 exam, it's going to give him the ability. So there's a sales exam, then there's a level 1, then there's a level 2, and then there's a level 3. If you are going to have guys trained and they have no knowledge or no experience, have them trained and let them write the sales to start off with, and then the level 1 and then the level 2. If this is your output, then that's where you start. If this is your output, then you start with having the guy gain experience first. So you need either experience or an N3 or a bit of both to be able to register with the Department of Labor. So if you follow this route, your process is going to be slightly different than when you just want to achieve that. If you have if they have 5 years, if they have 5 years worth of experience, they would be able to register as a single phase tester, and they don't necessarily need the N3. If they have, I think, 3 years worth of experience and an N2, they would be able to register as well. So there are so many different ways in which you can get guys to have some sort of qualification or some form of accreditation. Your only issue is over here. If you get him to write the level 1, level 2, and get a green card, he's not necessarily going to be issuing COCs. So for me, in terms of having guys that are going to add value to your business, what I would look at is driver's license. The minute the guy has a driver's license, he becomes an asset in your business. Working at heights. Working at heights and then experience. So for me, it's kind of this over here is your education and experience portal, but that's kind of the route I would follow. Where do we have? In knowing what is available. Okay, I have a question. Okay, so Nico, I hope that has answered your question. Oh, that was very smart. I see Mariusha posted. So Mariusha posted a kind of a framework that talks to what I've drawn on the board over here. Thanks, Mariusha. That would be helpful. I hope that's helpful for the guys. Huzafa has been sorted. Johan says thanks. Yeah, thanks, Johan. Yes, there's a lot of work that goes into, and I don't want to sound overly dramatic, but oh my word, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes into into getting these things done. Wakai says, if one is contacted by the battery manufacturers outside the country, is it advisable for a small contractor to buy direct? Wakai, you've been contacted by China. Yeah, I'm contacted by China all the time, and they want to sell me stuff. There's a massive risk in buying stuff. If you look at the number of scams, I had a guy phone me yesterday, and he phoned me, and I answered, and as I answered the phone, he said, I deposited the money into money market yesterday, and I still haven't received my my access code. I said, dude, this is Carel. I don't have anything to do with money market. And he said, well, the guy said this is the number. It's been scammed. Ralph says, thanks for the good session. Thanks. Thanks, Ralph.
Carl, can I mention just
yes.
Can we just also mention if you do direct imports, you are going to be liable for EPR fees?
If you do direct imports, you are going to be liable for EPR fees. Wakai, that's a big problem. So if you import stuff, you are going to be expected to pay towards the recycling of the stuff you're importing. Let me just, oh my word. Let me just, sorry. Just want to stop that call quickly. It comes up on my laptop. If you import stuff, you are responsible for paying, making a contribution towards the recycling of those products. So it's not just about importing stuff. There are a whole lot of other risks that you end up with. Wakai, one of them is that the firmware doesn't work. The other thing is, if the firmware doesn't work, who's responsible for kind of sorting you out from a technical support point of view? So if you bring in the stuff, you become the guy who's responsible for maintaining the stuff and updating the firmware and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of risks. I would, as a contractor, not recommend that. I would rather just buy from a reputable distributor, minimize the risk, focus on what your business is doing, make sure that it runs smoothly. So if you're going to be spending, it's my opinion that you shouldn't be buying 1 or 2 batteries through, I don't know, some or other online platform and importing 1 or 2 batteries at a time. That's a disaster waiting to happen. And the minute you start doing that, you accept the responsibility of those products. It's going to be better to get a distributor to handle that kind of risk. Craig says, we have been contacted by the Bargaining Council and are being told that it is a legal requirement for our company and employees to join up with the council. Neither the company nor the employees want to go down this route and start paying union fees and other services. Do we have a choice? Yeah. Craig, that is really a question for a different meeting. You're in the wrong meeting. You're in the wrong meeting for that question. I'm going to answer you nonetheless. Yeah, a bargaining council, if you go and read the bargaining council documents, it has been gazetted. And the bargaining council documents even include engineers into the bargaining council, electrical engineers. So if you do any kind of electrical work, you are forced, according to that regulation, to be part of the electrical industry. So here's the catch. You have to have an electrician in your full-time employment to be able to register with the bargaining council. So that means that you need to have a guy that's registered with the Department of Labor. At the moment, the regulation does not make provision for a company to do electrical work if they are not registered with the Department of Labor. So when you look at a building contractor, for example, building contractors aren't registered as electrical contractors with the Department of Labor. That is because a building contractor appoints an electrician as a subcontractor. So there's this gray area in the regulation at the moment that the guys that are registered are very stern about. So they all go, yeah, you've got to register, otherwise you are not legal or you're not complying with the regulations. So you've got that pressure on the one hand, on the one side, and then on the other side, you've got a section of industry that operates and has been operating for many years without being part of that. So we do see the bargaining council being more and more aggressive with regards to guys signing off on installations. There are ways to address it, but it is becoming increasingly difficult to manage that space because of the pressure that the Department of Labor is putting on contractors that are doing solar installations. So it's almost as if they've decided that if you do solar installations, you have to register. But if you're a building contractor doing so you can't be a contractor and subcontract, and you can't be a solar contractor and subcontract an electrician to do an installation, but you can be a building contractor and subcontract an electrician to do an installation. So I don't really have an answer for this. The electrical installation regulations dates back to 2009 when the last amendments were made. It is due for an upgrade. There is the general machinery regulations are out for comment at the moment. There are a couple of changes affected to the general machinery regulations. If you are in the AREP WhatsApp group, we posted the general machinery regulations a draft document in that group about a week or two ago. So Craig, I know what the answer could be, but the Department of Labor at the moment is not seeing it. They don't see those two. They don't see those two elements as being contradicting. So you are going to have to register with the Department of Labor because of I think the noise in the media, the noise in industry. David then says, I've had a few staff members trained at height scaffolding medicals and then vanish after a week or two. How does one protect the business from this risk and investment in the South African market? Oh my word. David, that is a massive issue. We've had guys trained as well. And the funny thing is the working at heights training is money you throw in the water. It's just to get a document. I was at at 2 working at heights training sessions, and it has absolutely no value. It has absolutely zero value, because the guys that are presenting, they don't care. They are just pushing 18 students through in a session, and towards the end where you write the exam, everybody writes the exam together. If you have worked with a harness before, you can leave early. If you haven't worked on a harness, they'll show you how to put it on. When we in the last course I did, they didn't even have scaffold there. They had an imaginary, yes, they had an imaginary step ladder lying on the ground, and you had to show the instructor how you would climb this imaginary step ladder. Anyway, I got my certificate, but the guy who did that course with me was a guy that was employed at a site with me, and he also left. So that is an issue. Donnie asks, the ECA is starting to have an online system to do COCs. Will AREP do something similar? Donnie, definitely. I don't want to say I've acquired a new set of skills, but I am in the process of creating something that would allow guys to go onto an online platform, complete a test report, and submit the form. So I think there's definitely scope for that. Sipa Mandla says, from the SLA point of view, if a client asked for system optimization like PV wash to improve the production, which other ways to optimize system production in terms of charging and discharging of the batteries during peak and off-peak hours? You have to, Sipa Mandla, you have to, if you want to optimize the system, you need to have access to the data on how they use power. And then you need to have access to their billing to have a look at how they are being billed. And if the only way that you can optimize it is by looking at what they are being billed, how the system performs, what their load profile is, and get those different data sets together and then come up with a solution for the client. I don't have a straight answer for you. Every site is going to be different. Yeah, thanks, Craig. I hope that has answered your question. We have a full-time electricians under their employment and are registered with the DOEL. Oh, okay. Cool. Trevor says I used the wrong height safety training. Trevor, it's just a ticker box. True gravity training in Pretoria for height safety. They keep your certificate safe as well. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Thanks, Trevor. Quick bit of marketing there for gravity training in Pretoria. Yeah, we are. So Craig says. Sorry, I just want to jump back to Craig's comment. He says, you guys. So Craig says they do have full-time electricians and are registered with the Department of Employment and Labour. Okay, great. So you are registered with the DOEL, you just don't want to contribute to the bargaining council. I hear what you're saying. There, unfortunately, you don't have a choice. The bargaining councils, the bargaining council stuff for me is just additional money that you are going to be spending on keeping your guys employed. I don't have other advice. Unfortunately, that is what you are left with. Okay, guys, what else do we have? Are there any last questions? It is 20 minutes past 12. Thank you very much. You guys have been a very resilient group, very committed to the meeting. Thank you very much for staying in. David says, I agree with Trevor. There are some shady trainers that have even offered to provide the answers in the tests. Yes, that's the meeting. That's the training I was in. But still would be great to have some cover as creating jobs. But geez, we're burning through money on training and complying to occupational health and safety. It is insane. The rate at which compliance, or maybe not the rate, but how much compliance costs is insane. And with where the market is at the moment, everybody's under pressure. I see most of the industries that I'm involved with, as far as demand is concerned, demand has I wouldn't say vanished. There is still a bit of demand in the industrial sector, but in the residential sector, it's very, very, very quiet. So guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for the questions. This time we carried on a little bit later. Thanks, Trevor. That was quite a nice that was quite a nice comment. And then what do we have? Death by compliance. Yes, compliance costs more than what you make doing the work. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's the rest of the team. Thanks, Brian. Everybody's working together on this. There's a lot of effort that goes into it. Thanks, guys. We are signing off.